Skip, thanks for joining me today.
I appreciate you taking the time, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. So Skip, I thought as one of my first interviews for Above the Tree Line here at Treeline Research, I would start at the beginning. And Xplor has been a part of transactional customer communications for a long time, since actually, I guess, the late 70s even.
Yep.
And I thought we would start there because, this is an industry that certainly has been in transition for a long time, and is that transition perhaps is even accelerating, at least based on some of the work that I'm doing. But I thought this would be a great opportunity for you to describe a little bit about the history of Xplor, kind of where it's been, and where it's headed. So if we could just start there and just describe a little bit about your background and kind of your involvement with Xplor starting back in the day.
Well, Xplor itself has been around since the late 70s. It actually started as a users group for the 9700, and it was brilliant in the sense that a lot of people didn't know how to use the software. So Keith Davidson, who was the executive director at the time, decided we'll start a users group, and they can help us solve all of our problems. So over time, it evolved, and it got bigger and bigger, and they opened it up to other organizations and such. Xplor itself actually stands for Xerox Printing Liaison Organization.
Yep.
As you know, well, Xerox is famous for their acronyms, and they made Xplor an acronym. So, and the Xplor logo actually was handwritten by Keith Davidson's daughter. He liked it, and then that became the Xplor logo. So we've been around since the late 70s, and we've kind of morphed several times since I took over in 2000. So we're here today. We have basically a situation where we're multimedia. Print is one of the delivery vehicles, and it's gotten a lot more complex over time, obviously, as new technology emerges, and how we communicate with people has changed significantly. So as far as my background, I've been involved in Xplor for 31 years. I started out as a vendor. I got on the board of directors for Xplor. And when Bill McAlpin resigned, he in fact, I'm sorry, you can hear my dogs.
All right.
But he resigned, and the board asked me to take over. So ever since then, this has been my full-time job, is trying to deliver the educational programming and all of the venues that we have to the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I grabbed something off Wikipedia, and you can tell me whether this is accurate or not. But I think Wikipedia did a great job of defining Xplor International, and I think the one that stood out here for me is the goal of the organization is to promote the best practices for design, production, and delivery of electronic documents. Now, I think when that statement was probably originally written, electronic documents had a different kind of meaning. And part of the reason we're here today is to sort of have that discussion about really what we thought of electronic documents 30 years ago, as you described, and kind of what that is meaning today, and sort of how Xplor is responding to that. Just to go back in terms of just defining a little bit, 9700, for those people that don't know, was a cheap fed laser printer, basically, right? That thing was a beast, man. I'm not familiar with the printers. I was more on the copier side, but the 9000 series engine was a phenomenal engine. I have a lot of memories of changing those, photoreceptor belts and polishing those things, and oh gosh, but that engine was just incredible. But we are in this transition from what was a print industry, right? Even as few as 20 years ago, since you've been president. Describe a little bit some of the changes that you've seen in sort of that focus on printed output to kind of where we are today, and some of the changes that you've seen in terms of how is Xplor responding to that?
Well, I mean, number one, if you look at the curriculum for the upcoming event, print is in there, but it is one of the many delivery channels. It kind of went, in my opinion, from the print, and then the internet, became, real popular. Then they email, people started communicating by email, and then it kind of evolved into a how do we talk to our customers type situation. And then, the customer journey, customer satisfaction, the customer experience, and all of that has been driven by technology and mainly software. I mean, if you really think, and I don't want to denigrate any of my hardware partners, but,
Sure.
printer's a printer. It has dots, it has a, cost per image, it has all of these different things, and they're all very, very good printers, but they deliver one specific output channel. Now, you get emails, there's video. I mean, I think personalized video is starting to come into its own. Multi-channel. You can't get on the internet and click on something without getting some, pop-up message now. And then, everybody's into surveys. So this whole, how do we deal and interface with the customer? And more importantly, how does the customer want to receive the information? A lot of people, I like print only because, that's where my roots were. But,
Right.
I get all kinds of communications, obviously in other channels like you do and others. So over time, I think it's just become, software. Everything seems to be software driven. In fact, when you come to the event and you've been there in the past, it's predominantly software vendors that are part of our vendor forum, because they take the data, they manipulate it, they put it out in the various output channels, and people can select how, in fact, they want to receive their data.
So that's the electronic document component of Xplor is really more from that print-centric, hardware-centric to more software, multi-channel delivery. And the way I think about Xplor, and there's other industry events that address various aspects of customer communications. And again, we're coming at this from the perspective of the historical sort of aspect of Xplor, which was bills and statements, right? It served the financial services industry, the banking,
Transaction documents.
right. So the way I think about Xplor is it's really where the rubber hits the road, right? It's about, okay, we can talk about all kinds of great things in the business in terms of KPIs and customer experience, but in the reality, somebody actually has to do this job and actually deliver those communications. And that's where I see the value of Xplor is providing that perspective of just, okay, we've got a job to do here. How are we going to do it the most effective way that we can to address the goals of the business, which might be get rid of paper, or it might be improve customer satisfaction, or it might be all kinds of different goals, but somebody still is responsible for delivering that. And that's where I see the value of Xplor. And as a part of that, Xplor also has their EDP program. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about that and the value of that program and how you see people leveraging, their EDP certifications and what that means to their organization and their operation in this task of having to deliver these communications.
Well, the EDP program's now 30 or 31 years old, and it actually started as the EDPP program, Electronic Document Printing Professionals. And then over time, we dropped the printing, the P part, just electronic document professional. The program's been active for, like I said, 31 years. We've just released a online testing version of it. Prior to it, what you would have to do is fill out an application, submit 3 of your work examples. They're reviewed by your peers and that type of thing. And now we've extracted information from our electronic body of knowledge and have gone online. So we just did that last month. And we've already got 6 or 8 people that have applied for it online. So we're pretty excited about that. in terms of the value proposition, as I tell people, I was in sales when I originally became an EDP, and it was because of a challenge that I took. I was on the vendor advisory council for Xplor, and Keith Davidson got up and said, how many people in here are EDPs? And not one vendor, and there were 25 vendors in the room, said that they were an EDP. And I said, okay, I'll get my EDP, Keith, if you get yours. And so I got it, and I didn't think much of it, to be quite frank with you, because I thought, well, it was a challenge, and I opened my mouth when I probably shouldn't have. But however, one of the things that was amazing is when I put EDP on my card, I would go in to a customer meeting or whatever. I'd give them my card, they'd see the EDP, and they'd ask me, what's an EDP? And then when I explained to them that you had to have so much experience, you had to have so much, contribution to the industry, knowledge sharing, work examples, and that type of thing. Salespeople sometimes, when you go in, they're kind of a little leery about what the sales guy says, but when the technical guys, they're good with the technical guy. That gave me instant credibility. When they found out what it stood for, they basically were, pretty impressed with it, and they seemed to listen to me more, and maybe, listen to what I was saying a little bit more. We have companies now, I'll mention Crawford Technologies. They have an EDP challenge going on now. Their goal is to get 20 new EDPs by the end of the year. They're hoping to have them actually at this year's conference. And they see it as an opportunity to show to their customers that they've invested in their employees in terms of the certification, and that these people know certain things and have earned that through the certification. So, the program establishes credibility. It's not easy to get EDP. We also have an MEDP, which is a Master Electronic Document Professional. We have an entry level called an EDA, Electronic Document Associate, which, somebody's been in the industry a couple of years and shows initiative. It's a pathway to EDP. So the program's pretty comprehensive. And if I say one thing, it establishes credibility of the people that carry that designation.
Well, I'm going to follow Crawford's lead here, and I'm just going to say publicly, I am going to get my EDP. So it is a goal of mine to achieve that and join the ranks of a lot of people that I really admire and know have done a lot for this industry. But sort of speaking of that knowledge, when I look at I'm tracking sort of the broader trends in transactional communication, as you know, and sort of trying to understand where and when and which pieces of this marketplace are sort of moving, how quickly and where they're headed. But one of the sort of trends that I'm tracking is what you're discussing, which is really around expertise and knowledge, right? When we're talking about transactional bills and statements, right, 100% accuracy is required. That means you need to have a lot of knowledge, operational knowledge, data manipulation knowledge. Whether those documents are being delivered on paper or electronically, those things still apply, right? It sort of doesn't matter whether it's printed or not. And that's a big challenge for the industry right now, right? The printing industry in general is challenged with staffing and challenges with people that just have the knowledge to deliver the kind of performance that's required, particularly in transactional communications. But I would just encourage people to check out the EDP program, because I think it's an answer to sort of help solve that problem of the knowledge. People are retiring. This industry is, as we said, this has been around a long time, and we need to sort of refresh that knowledge bank to kind of carry us into the future. And I know that education is a big part of Xplor as well. I know that I should say you are sponsoring various education programs at different campuses and schools around the country. Talk a little bit about that and sort of, how Xplor is trying to, again, bring up that next group of industry experts and professionals.
Well, what you're talking about is the design competition. Particularly, we do have two Xplor college chapters. We have Cal Poly out in California, and we
Sure.
have RIT. And about 6 or 7 years ago, Quadient came up with the idea of, why don't we do a design competition
Hmm.
and, kind of engage these students and that type of thing. So they've been sponsoring that for the last 6 or 7 years since its inception. And basically what we do is we put together a bland looking bill,
Hmm.
uh, probably about as ugly as you could probably imagine. And we give it to the
Yeah.
teams, and they have to go in, they have to redesign it from a print perspective, from a web perspective, and to be able to look at it and say, okay, these are the aesthetics. They pick the fonts, they redesign logos, they do all of these various things. They have to address the compliance issues of the
Right.
documents,
Very
which, as you
important.
know,
Yep.
change every year. So,
Yep.
or it
Yep.
seems like it.
Absolutely. Right.
Uh, Postal barcodes, all of that type of thing. And you would not believe what some of these kids come up with. I mean, it's amazing. In fact, this year, we've got, as I mentioned, RIT and Cal Poly. They'll be presenting the winning teams. We had 5 teams from Cal Poly, I believe it was, and 3 teams from MIT or RIT. And the winning team will be presenting their solutions at the conference and sharing with people what they came up with. And what we do is each winning team, one from our RIT and one from Cal Poly, they get a couple $1,000s to help defray travel expenses and that type of thing. Uh, and then the winner, gets the big cup, and then they got to figure out how to ship it home. But it's really, really an exciting program. We're particularly excited because this is the first year RIT has been involved, and they've been wonderful to work with, as Cal Poly has all along. But
Sure.
it's a great program. And then this year too, we're going to try to encourage our vendors that are exhibiting, if they're looking at hiring people, to we've come up with a program where they can put a little sign in their booth and say, yes, we're hiring, and have these kids go around and talk to them about the industry and about them themselves, and share their resumes and that type of thing, and hopefully create some synergy and get some of these kids, more of these kids, into the industry, because we need it. I mean, as you
Right.
mentioned, people are retiring. Explorer, this is my 30th, 30 whatever Explorer. I mean, I'm getting old. We're all getting old, and we need these young kids to come in and pick up the gauntlet.
Yeah, I mean, the customer communications industry is only growing, right? There's only the volume of customer communications and transact it's only increasing, right? It is not declining. It's just morphing into different channels, as you described earlier. Well, that's very exciting. I'm really excited to see, and I'm going to call them kids just because I think I have a right to say that. But
Oh, I
these
do
young
too.
people, because as a researcher, I'm really curious how they see the solution to the problem, right? How their generation views the opportunity to fix maybe some of the challenges that we face in this industry. So it'll be really interesting and exciting to see what they have to say and see their presentation on is that the last day or the second day, I think, of Explorers
I
when
think it's the second day, but yeah, I mean, these
yeah.
kids go to the banks. I mean, they go physically to the bank and interview the bank manager about different things, and or the utility company or whatever,
Yeah.
the statement is. So
Yeah.
they really do some research, and it's so encouraging to see what they're doing, and how their mind thinks versus how old people's mind thinks.
Yeah, well, exactly, and we need them, and we need that sort of fresh perspective and thinking on this space. For folks like myself, it's an opportunity to have a platform to talk about what I do, which is, I want to see this industry move forward. I just know that it's going to move forward in a different way than it has in the past, and I think that's a little scary to a lot of people, particularly those people that are invested in print. It's just reality, and so. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just sort of the way it is. And so and I know you're facing the same challenge I do, which is I've got a bunch of big customers that are PSPs, and they're like, Andy, we love your research, but don't talk about print going away. Like, but like, it's just like, I get it. I understand it. There's a lot of investment and infrastructure and capability and knowledge based around print. And people don't want that to go away because that's people's bread and butter. But the reality is the market is definitely shifting, and I think shifting very quickly. And I want to just bring that message, not to be a bad guy, but to say, and I think Xplor is a great forum to start having these conversations of what is this industry going to look like in 5 to 7 years.
But you know what, for print service providers, and I've talked to many of them, and I used to own a service bureau, so I kind of have a lot of people in the industry. This is really an opportunity. Print is a delivery, but there's ancillary revenue to be
my gosh, it's huge
by
it's
manipulating data and being compliant and doing. I mean, if they look at it with an open mind and talk to the right people, then instead of having just print revenue, which some of that revenue is dropping, they can add these ancillary services onto what they're doing right now, and collectively it could be bigger than what they're doing. So
and there's actually use cases that actually say that that's true primarily in Europe, but there's definitely some PSPs in the United States that are moving in that direction as well, and that's exactly the kind of stuff that I think that needs to be discussed more. And between you and me, I always a little frustrated when I go to some of the events and all those PSPs are there, and I'm like, why are they not at Xplor? Why are you guys not? Just to wrap things up, what can people expect this year? I think you've got some new vendors that have signed up. What can people expect for the Xplor Summit? I guess it's next month. Well, yeah, it's next month now in Lake Vista.
Well, once again, we've got an incredible agenda. Xplor is known for education and the quality of education. We have a wonderful, experienced conference committee that actually is headed up by Pat McGrew and some other people, both in the end user community and the vendor community. Obviously we're going to talk about best practices. We're going to talk about some new technology, some new methodologies. In general, I can't say it's the best agenda. It's one of our better agendas because we've always had, in my opinion, I'm a little prejudiced, we've always had a good agenda. But it'll give an opportunity for people to see where we're at today and where we're going and how to get there. And that to me is the important thing.
And now, I guess I have 2 questions related to that. So you have special programs for first-time attendees, and obviously that we'd like to see all kinds of new faces. But is there a particular role in an organization that you think is really sort of best suited to coming to Xplor and taking back some really valuable information? Is it somebody that has a certain skill set or a certain role in a business that really benefits from their time at Xplor?
Well, I personally believe, although we'd like to have all executives there,
right.
There's other forums that cater to, that type of, thinking. People that attend our conference are typically recommenders, either in operations or on the technical side. These are people that have been sent out by their management saying, okay, here, we've got a problem, you go find a solution. And that's what people come to Xplor for, is to find solutions. And we have pretty dynamic, we have a small exhibit area, but we have predominantly software. In fact, this year it's all software except for one. But people come, their operations, software people, they come a lot, some of the design people, but mainly the recommenders, the people that they're challenged with going out, finding the solutions and going back and saying, hey, I've got it.
That rubber, where the rubber hits the road, as I was saying, right? These are the people that they got to solve the problem, right? Well, that is amazing. And again, I just want to put a plug in there for those first-time attendees. There is a program for them to attend the conference for free, right? Or at least to participate in the educational sessions for free. Is that correct?
Oh, exactly. What we do, we're trying to bring in new faces all the time. But basically what it is, if you haven't attended an Xplor conference for the last 5 years, and you're an end user, because we have plenty of vendors.
Sure, yeah.
you're an end user, you haven't attended the conference, and the only thing we ask is that you agree to stay at the headquarters hotel, which is $165 a night. And
It's a beautiful hotel. Yeah, the Hilton.
The whole event is. If you go to our website and click on first timer program, there's a banner at the top. It's very easy to do. Just name, company, title, and hit enter, and within 24 hours you'll be approved. And that's for the conference registration. We obviously don't cover airfare and hotel, but it's a at this point $1,200 value. So
Right.
we hope people will do that. We still have some slots available because we limit it to a certain number. But if somebody gets in a little bit over that, I know somebody, I think I can get them squeezed in. So.
That is fantastic. Well, Skip, I'm really looking forward to it and being there. I've got a presentation and a panel and some other things, and of course, seeing lots of friends and colleagues. We're looking forward to a great event this year. And until then, I wish you all the best with your planning and organization. I know it's a lot of work to put these things together, and we really appreciate your leadership on that. So thank you very much for your time, Skip. And we'll look forward to seeing you in Orlando.
Okay, Andy, I appreciate the time and the opportunity, definitely. So I'll see you next month.